A very good evening to you. Welcome to You Health Chat. My name is Sophia Matovu. Now, on the 20th of March, we shall join the rest of the world to celebrate World Oral Health Day. It is said that your mouth can tell, a lot about the health of your body, interestingly. Now with me on set is Dr. Juliet Nabanja Katumba, who is the Assistant Commissioner, Oral Health, Ministry of Health. And she is going to be shedding more light on our topic that is oral, a healthy mouth, is a healthy body. And interestingly, our topic is the theme for the celebrations this year. Doctor, a very good evening to you.
Thank you very much, Sophia.
Good. Now, when we talk about oral health, we know many things. Dental, I think, seems to stand out a lot. I'd like us to start with the basics. When we talk about the mouth, for many people, I'll be very honest with you, the lay people, the mouth is the lips.
You're right.
Educate us. Which is the mouth? Parts of the mouth and their possibly purpose.
Yes, you're right when you say that they call the mouth or they relate them to just the lips. But the mouth is bigger than the lips because we can say it stretches from the lips up to the beginning of the throat. And all of that in there is what we call the oral cavity, and that is why we call it oral health versus dental health, which people are familiar with, and they usually mistake dental to be all there is for oral health. But dental health is just part of oral health. So we really want people to appreciate that much as we know a bit more about the teeth, there are other parts in the mouth that we need to pay attention to.
Okay. Now, how bad is the situation or the issue of oral health statistics, or how, because there are certain conditions that we know that do a takeover. When you talk about malaria, that one everybody knows. Oral health, people think that maybe it's only when they have a dental cavity that is it, and that's. Maybe you might want to shed light in that area.
Dental conditions or oral conditions are actually ranking very high. Here in Uganda, they take the 3rd position in OPD attendance at our hospitals. So that's not a small statistic. If you look at 10 people, 9 of them have had an experience of any condition in the mouth, mainly caries, tooth decay, but people have had bleeding gums. And the percentage that right now is about 35 in adults, and the older we get, the bigger the gum problem becomes. So we look at the dental problem because it starts very early, but the gum issues come in a bit later. So they are not focused on, but the burden is still big. These days NCDs are trending, and we also have cancer happening in the mouth.
First, let's get back to the bit of the bleeding gums. I'd like to ask my team member to kindly share with us some few clips of what, when we talk about bleeding gums, we mean. Because I don't take it for granted that everybody knows what a bleeding gum is. So maybe the clips will help us to show us, and we get to appreciate what we talk about when we talk about what you mean when you talk about bleeding gums, and possibly what is the cause of the bleeding gums. So you were still talking about the bleeding gums?
The bleeding gums, to take you to the causes vary. But commonly we get food impacted below the gum, below the tooth. When you go past that margin of the gum and something impacts beyond that margin, you're likely to get bleeding because it causes distension of the gum, displaces it from its normal position, and that alone can cause bleeding. A slight injury on that distended part will cause bleeding. But we also have other causes of bleeding. Poor hygiene. You may not have food impacting there, but poor hygiene, we have what we call plaque, which can go in there, and it builds up. It also causes distension of the gum, and it can cause bleeding. There is injury. People love using toothpicks.
So they can also affect the gum.
They can also injure the gum, and small time bleeding can eventually grow and become, recognizable bleeding. The way we brush can also initiate bleeding. If you are so rough, if your bristles, the bristles on your brush are are rough on your gum, they can also cause bleeding. There is what we call calculus. It's a plaque that has stayed longer and it hardens. I'm trying to look for the Uganda word, kabole. I think that's the word.
The one they say kabole mumanyo.
That is very common. It can also cause bleeding in the mouth. So many factors around that, injury, poor hygiene, all those can be causes of gums.
Now, can we get to the sores? I'm told they're also what you call the mouth sores. I don't know if they what other terms you use medically, but as a layperson, that's the way I understand them.
The sores could mean a wound, but I will pick out one of the commonest or the most irritating. We call it aphthous ulcer, but to soften it a bit is stress ulcer. Stress, because it's really related to your stress levels. Sometimes you get stressed and you kind of ignore it. You are like, that's routine, what? But it's building up. And if you don't pay attention to it, that sore will come, that stress ulcer.
By itself?
By itself, because the body responds to its environment. Whatever is irritating it, it has a way. Some people get headaches and they know that, I think I'm stressed. You know how to identify a headache due to malaria and a headache due to stress. So this stress ulcer is one of those things that really can get you check yourself. It comes itself.
They come like, because I've seen some people say that they assume I have bitten myself. I have a wound on the lip. Maybe let's take a look at a picture of it and be able to understand what exactly we're talking about here, because we might be talking about the ulcers. Okay, that's exactly it.
That's it.
So that's not a person biting their lip, but that's a sore?
Yeah. Very notorious, and it can happen anywhere. So if it's not managed, it can become that big. But usually they are small, they are self-limiting. Self-limiting means it comes by itself, it goes by itself. The best you can do is maybe give a painkiller. But because it's open, it's an open wound, we encourage keeping it clean. So that you don't get it infected. Because when infection comes in, then it's a different story. But they are very common, and the lifestyles we live very fast, very what. This is something that can easily happen. And it's just saying the body, I'm taking on too much.
Wow.
Yeah, when you control your sources of stress, when you note it and you kind of calm down, it just disappears. We give painkillers for it, nothing else.
Now, there's another one that I have been asked by some of the people to ask you about. That is bad breath.
Okay, bad breath is...
Certain times some believe it is caused by the foods we eat. Others believe it's caused by poor digestion. Kindly educate us.
I'll pick from the thought that they have, bad food. It's true, some of the foods can give bad breath. Garlic. Garlic is one of them. Some people enjoy garlic, but they need to know what to do. There are some antidotes to minimize that breath that comes out. But I'm sure they are not really talking about food breath. They are, bad breath due to food. They are probably looking for that bad breath which is medical, if I can put it like that. Bad breath can come from, again, food impacting in your gums. If your gums are not very clean and down there, gums have a margin. Once you extend that margin and something goes in there, it's not easy to get out. So to get it out, you have to go to your dentist, and then they do what we call scaling, and then after that, polishing of the teeth. So if it stays there too long, without attending to it, without removing it, it rots. And anything rotten can cause, bad breath. That is about the gums. But the tooth also can give you bad breath. If the decay goes into the center of the tooth where there are blood vessels, and blood has that smell, it can come out as bad breath. So those are the key that we would call maybe medical. But there are other conditions. We have saliva in the mouth for a purpose. If you don't have enough saliva, your oral cavity is not hydrating, and you're likely to come up with that stench which comes because you are not naturally cleaning the mouth. People may have dry mouth due to medication. They may have some ladies when they are pregnant. Anything can happen to a pregnant woman. They can be dry in the mouth. There can be other conditions that cause you dryness in the mouth. And because the mouth is a moist area, every time you have that moisture
is that
tendency.
orothrust? I'm seeing the tongue.
Yeah, that is thrush.
Or thrush, rather,
Yes, yeah,
Mhm.
thrush. It used to be very, you want me to talk about
Yes,
that now?
please.
It used to be very common during the era of HIV when we didn't have medication to mitigate the effects of the virus. But it's not as common as it used to be because people are on medication. At the beginning, you said that the mouth is, it tells about your body. This is how many people were caught as, you know, infected. Once the dentist saw that thrush, during those days, it was a big pointer. It would be prudent of that dentist to find a way of talking to this patient because we take history. Have you gone to the depth of the history of this patient to be able to guide them that when I see this, I suspect this. It doesn't mean that everyone with thrush has HIV, but it was a very, very big pointer. And that is why we say it's true, the mouth is the mirror of the body. We can see many other things. Apart from that showing HIV, we can see anemia in the mouth, yes. Because we have a normal pink, which is average pink. But if you go too far from that pink towards white, paleness and that, first suspect is anemia. We can see jaundice, the yellowness. When we start losing that normal pink, the beautiful pink of the oral cavity, there's a disease we are looking for most of the time. So we see a lot in the mouth. And I call the mouth the gate of the body.
Then how about, don't you think it's also just got to do, there are some people who think the more you brush, because you know the toothbrush has that provision as well at the back, where it feels like you're practically scrubbing with a brush, besides the toothbrush itself, or actually with the stone, the tongue clean as you push it out. Doesn't that, you know, white substance get off?
No. With thrush, the brush won't take it off. The brush will be able to take off food particles, soft food particles that are sitting on the brush, I mean on the tongue. But when you brush with you brush the tongue and you see the tongue is not giving you results you expect, that is the time to see your dentist and inquire what this is. It's not going away with the brush. You know, you see someone consult, and a good, trained health provider should know what you have.
Then let's talk about the mouth cancer. How common is it here?
Mouth cancer is not that common as here, but there is one which is very common among children, which is called Burkitt's lymphoma.
Ah, the one which comes.
Yeah, it's very, very notorious. When I say not common, it's because maybe we haven't literally elaborated via statistics what is. Because we only have people coming to the hospital. I can say 10% of the patients in the cancer unit have an oral condition or related, the cancer is related to the mouth. But what is the percentage out there? So the magnitude is bigger than we already have, but even what we have is worrying. So we really have to look at, that is the entry point for us, oral health, into NCD. Because NCD has captured cancers per se, so we can jump on board. But even other conditions in the mouth are typically NCD. We relate to NCDs via diet. We are also sugar affected, the teeth. We relate to NCDs via, like we said, the cancers. NCDs, things that bring morbidity and mortality. We are more known for morbidity than mortality. So oral conditions kind of fall low down on the radar of prioritization simply because they come with morbidity, which is a common thing with NCDs. So probably our plea would be to really integrate into the NCD policies so that we can lower the burden of the oral diseases. There are true NCDs which are low on the radar, but we need to educate people like we are doing now, that because they are not transmissible, you won't infect me if you have a toothache, even if you used my brush, if that could ever happen, I won't catch
You won't
that.
catch the tooth decay.
And that's a definition of NCD, non-communicable. Non-communicable. So there are areas that we can jump on that platform via oral cancers, which is a catchy word in NCDs. But all other dental conditions, tooth decay and what, they are basically non-communicable.
Now, in terms of the statistics, can you say that there are specific areas where you would say it is highest here because of the nature of maybe foods or so in terms of oral health?
The cancers, I don't have a study to refer to right now comfortably, but we know prevalence is high in areas where people chew cud. Chew cud. What is cud? People chew something in their mouth, they hold it there for a long time. I think it relates with tobacco, so it burns the oral mucosa. And then it starts like a minor wound, but because the person continues with the habit, it grows. And those areas where we find a lot of tobacco and use and cut chewing are the areas which we check for high prevalence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then in terms of like because I would say most of the clinics that are basically active more these days, I think, have got to do with NCDs. Yeah. So how do they factor in, or how is the ministry trying to ensure that also the issue of oral health is factored in? Because most of the times it's blood samples they'll consider and look at first. It's rare that they'll look at the mouth. They only look at the mouth when you have a tooth decay.
Yeah, true. We have defined dental disease as tooth disease, but we are working closely with the NCD department. We are highly integrated because WHO recommends that, and on the platform of WHO, they actually take oral care under NCDs. But at the ministry, we are still under clinical services. But integration is ongoing, and we are also lobbying to, if we are to lower the burden, the platform of NCD right now looks like the best savior we have. So we work hand in hand when there's something, but you see there's always a prioritization, like now is going to diabetes, hypertension, but a talk like this advocates for more integration, and we are working on that. The two departments talk to each other.
Because now, when we get to the topic, a healthy mouth is a healthy body. And you're able to tell how my body is based on when I open my mouth and what you see. Now, how should I say this? I guess the bacteria move down into the body stream through the saliva. Yeah? Are there other ways in which one contaminates their own body from the gateway to the body?
Yeah, it's true. You may eat food that's already contaminated, and you see most of the food poisoning doesn't present in the mouth.
It presents in the stomach.
In the stomach. That way you have already infected yourself, you've already affected yourself or infected yourself. The other way is, before I go any further, I want to say that the bacteria in the mouth is normal flora, is normal. We don't have instances where normal bacteria in the mouth is dangerous. But if the bacteria in the mouth moves to areas that do not accept it as normal, then you have issues.
Okay.
We have bacteria that is common in the mouth, but can be very dangerous to heart patients if you treated them without knowing that they have cardiac issues, cardiac conditions. They may actually be affected. That's why, as dentists, we try to cover many patients with antibiotics after extraction, because sometimes the patient themselves don't know if they have this kind of condition. But if it happens to be that this patient is a heart patient, there's a very high risk of that bacteria going there, because the heart has its own flora and the mouth has. So we fear for that, but it's not common. It's not very common that it will happen. But you were asking, how do you get infection through the mouth? People pick, you could be writing and you pick a pen, put in the mouth, You don't know what you are putting there. So many ways, the easiest way is to get infected through the mouth is eating, even the hands. Even the hands. That's why it's very important to keep our hands clean. Because anything that goes in there may pass the mouth. We don't have a lot of reactions of what you've eaten happening in the mouth. Maybe things like pepper can show that. But if you ate fruit and it was not well kept, the manifestation will definitely go to the stomach. So there's a way the mouth is highly protected. Otherwise, we would have a lot of accidents happening in the mouth because everything starts there. All the nutrition starts there. You would only feed without your mouth when you are sick, admitted, you are online, you are what. That's why we say good oral health will give you good general health. You keep your mouth clean, you don't eat infected food, you have good health. You keep your mouth clean and you are able to see if there's any condition, you catch it early. You catch it early. Other than having poor oral health, you can't even see that tinge of yellow coming to tell you this is jaundice. So you don't see the anemia very quickly because there's a mess in there. But when you keep it clean, you eat clean, you are likely to get good. And also, even if you are sick, the medicine will go through the mouth.
Yes,
if the mouth is sick, you can't take the medicine, so you can't improve your general health.
Now, doctor, I would like to find out from you as Ministry of Health, what plans or strategies have you put in place to ensure that especially oral health is one of those must topics in schools? Because, you know, like, it's something that when you grow up with this, the only thing we know is brush our teeth, but we do not know other things. The obvious is brush your teeth to avoid the cavities. But with what you've said, it really sounds worrying. It's like there's a lot of information that is not going out there. What plan and strategy do you have in place?
The strategy is already in place because as ministry, it already has a program, School Health. School Health. So when School Health is happening, we also jump on board and put in a module. I would call it module or a topic on oral health. So those days schools used to parade and they check children's teeth and what. I don't know if that is happening. It's just good practice in school. Even when we don't have to check, is this school doing it? The school should, you know, mentor this within their students. So that is one way we do school outreaches. The other way is on this like World Oral Health Day. Actually, our catching areas are schools. We go into schools, we screen, we give oral health education, toothpaste, toothbrushes, but it should be a habit. We feel sad it can only happen as a one-off, but it should be a habit. So the strategy is we work with school health program, but we also are looking at a project, maybe a bigger project, which can really target this. And we are talking to a few partners who are considering supporting that. And one of them is Colgate, who is also sponsoring this Oral Health Day. And this is where we picked up the topic that you see we are so much in schools, you support us, but for one day. How can we benefit from more than one day? So it's also coming on board. Hopefully we can pull it off and make it beyond one day. But as for schools, a lot of messages go to schools. A lot of messages go to schools. We just have to know what can primary people consume, because we take them what they'll be able to implement, what they'll be able to remember, what they'll be able to, you know, make practice, and it becomes a regular thing. So we have messages that are for school. Many leaflets have been drawn by Colgate, and we are distributing them in schools. And the Uganda Dental Association is also doing that. It has a few camps are also associated with that day, and they will be coming back to Kampala. The main event is in Jinja, but they'll do a lot of schools in Kampala. So it's not sustainable, I must say, but we are doing the best we can. And if the sponsor can afford to do it for us quarterly or at least twice a year, we would love to see all the children. Why all the children? Because when you train that young person at an early age to care for their oral health, or you get a good adult dental patient, or they will understand what they see in the mouth, what to do, where to go. So it's very key for us to have a running project, and we hope we can pull it off with a promising sponsor.
Okay. So where are the celebrations going to take place, and probably why that particular area?
Okay, this year we are going to Kabale district, or Chigezi region, because there are many activities in other districts. There's Ruchiga district, Rubanda district, and Kabale itself. So in those various districts, we have had a number of dental camps screening for disease and also treating whatever is treatable in the field and preventing dental caries among the young ones. There's a gel, fluoride gel, we apply it on the kids' teeth, and it seals off those lines on the tooth where food sticks. At least we keep that tooth until it's due to fall out.
Okay.
So yeah, that's fluoride application. It has been happening. And it's a proven measure which we must embrace. And the challenge now is we need to quantify how much fluoride we would need for a school, how much this, and also base it on the period of how often we are going to do it. Because it's recommended at least once a year for that child, and you seal off those, we call them fissures. You know, the lines are the cause, the decay starts in those lines.
The lines between the teeth.
So we seal and the surface becomes smooth. So there's no food sticking. And when the child brushes, everything goes off. Because you know how fast they speed. A lot remains, but on a smooth surface, you'll have eliminated everything. So that is happening. Then what is happening also is we are making dentures for the elderly. Okay. You asked why Kabale. There's a foundation, Build Your Smile Foundation, has brought in this technology of doing a denture while you are in that chair and you go home with it. The technology we had in the past was you had to wait for a few days. It usually went beyond one day.
Yeah, true.
So when I saw that foundation last year in Mbarara, they participated in the World Oral Health Day, and I saw this happening. I was like, okay, this is something you are doing. It's good for community dentistry, because many of these people cannot afford to move to where they can get a denture and then go back the next day and maybe 3 times. There's a first time when they take the picture of your teeth, the space they want to replace, then you go to fit. If it doesn't fit, they have to cut a bit. So all that is cut out in the process, and this old woman can come, get it, go home. So that is why we went to Kabale, to see how this foundation is doing it, because they are already running community programs. And I'm very grateful for that foundation. They are running community programs already, and we just wanted to, you know, come and work with them. They've been doing this. So they've actually organized more than 4 or 5 dental camps in all those districts. Some districts have 4 camps, some have 2, some have 3. There are others who are teaming up with the Build Your Smile. There's Run Dental. They are also running a camp. And these camps, they've fully sponsored by themselves. They've made that day, honestly. Then there's Brighter Smiles. Brighter Smiles is working in one of the districts, Ruchiga, but the foundation is based in Mbarara. So they hosted last year's event. I told them, now that you felt this event, come and support this team. So there's a big team on the ground doing community health. And I really want to drum for prevention. If we are to lower the burden, we can't lower the burden of these conditions from the clinics alone. The clinics can do what they have to do, but Ministry of Health looks at masses compared to clinic where you can look at 1, 2, 3 people. If you are to do mass care, then prevention is better, is a better strategy. So when I identified these two organizations, that they are deep into community, they are deep into prevention, they are deep into rehabilitation, that's why we picked Kabale
Okay,
to
that's
host.
interesting.
And it's we kind of pick who is hosting this time. I think this year it went to NGOs, and that is why they've really come on board. Last year we had the regional referral hosting. So every year we try to open up for a category of professionals. Next year we'll think about another category so that everyone gets involved. But I'm so impressed by the NGOs because I think we've been very focused on our hospitals, but we have not been tapping into the work that NGOs are doing, and it has exposed itself this year.
Okay. Now let's get to the what we have decided to, demystify or get into depth of.
Okay.
And that's the theme.
The theme.
Yes.
We have already mentioned a bit of what it is when you say good oral health for good general health. We've talked about the feeding that happens in the mouth. If you don't use your mouth, I'm sure you will not be well. You will not have good general health.
True.
We all start with the mouth to get that strength. And if you neglect your mouth, again, you are going to get social issues. You are going to be isolated. Who wants to be alone? You are going to get low self-esteem. That affects your well-being. So you must be able to comfortably sit around people and you don't see them turning or running away because of bad breath. So we have also looked at the fact that you take your drugs, most of them orally. There are many that are injectable, but if you are not really, really sick, I think every doctor will say go home and swallow. So if you can't swallow, that wellness you are looking for, you are not going to get. You have to be sure that, okay, I'm sick, but I can get well when I take this. So if you don't have it, you won't get well. The oral cavity is also a mirror of our general well-being, the conditions in our bodies. If you can catch it early, if your mouth is good enough to show you that I am changing at this point, the pink is going away, you'll be able to say, maybe I'm getting anemic. Maybe my child has jaundice. Mothers just see yellowness in the mouth and they go to hospital. Then the next doctor will say, okay, this is jaundice. But the mother was able to identify. And if she didn't do it, how well will that child be? The health will continue deteriorating and deteriorating. So the mouth also is our protector for the rest of the body. If it's not well protected, if it's not good, you are not going to get good results in the rest of the body. You have to be sure that your teeth can chew the food and it goes in after that chewing and the body can digest it well. If the teeth are sick, either you don't chew, you swallow whole, and there's no one else beyond the teeth that will chew this food. Either you're going to get indigestion, you're going to get constipation, you are going... So basically health starts in the mouth, because this is where nutrition starts. You take your food through the mouth to be well. If you are not eating well, you won't be well. Even if you feel sick, if you are not using your mouth to take the medication, how will you improve? So there's a big connection when you see the model of the mouth telling you the disease that you can see in the mouth. It is huge. It is very huge. And if people would have time, they could study that and then appreciate that, oh, I need to be sure my cavity is clear to show me what is good and what is bad beyond it.
Then does saliva also tell? Because it looks like everything tells. We will be able to tell that we have mouth sores from the pain and the discomfort. You might not be able to say, but you'll tell even up in the palate. You'll be able to tell that there's something that's not right when you stick out your tongue and you see. You'll be able to tell I have a cavity from the pain. How do you tell that there's something not right with the saliva?
Saliva, the amount itself can tell you. We talked about dryness. I mean, there is no clear-cut amount that one should have, but someone with a dry mouth can tell that my mouth is dry. So you need to consult. Is it the medication? Are you having a condition that is cutting your saliva? Are your salivary glands blocked? So saliva, the amount itself, the stickiness. I think saliva shouldn't stick. Your tongue should really flow, really flow. If you think you are having it sticky, go see a dentist. Go see, because it's not normal. Saliva is not normal. It should freely flow. If it's sticky, then you should question. There have been tests that have done for HIV in the oral cavity. And saliva is part of, they just scrub through the oral cavity, and they've done oral tests for HIV. So we can actually tell some diseases within saliva.
Now, there are certain times when it comes to the issue of intense bad breath. Some people have opted to either constantly think when they chew gum. Gum, of course, has a bit of that scent and a mint. So they think when they chew gum, they are sorted. Others even have mouth sprays, and they think they are sorted. For as long as I'm smelling good and I've used my mouth spray, I am sorted.
I think the sorting happens, but it's short-lived. If that tooth that is decaying is still there, that scent will wear off and the breath will shoot up. So it relieves the pain. It's a pain reliever. Conscious, you think I'm sorted, but I can assure you that stench of the tooth decay, the bleeding that happens in the center of the mouth, if it has started bringing out that bad breath, you need to attend to that tooth more than you need that spray. Because it is short-lived and the tooth is still there. You go to sleep, by the time you wake up, the bad breath has come. So it's not bad to have a quick fix for breath, but depends on where bad breath is coming from. You may have missed brushing in the morning, you are rushing to office. Probably that would be a quick fix. You chew gum, you come, because there's no other source other than the fact that you didn't brush. But if you brushed even with bleeding gums and and the source of your bad breath is actually still existing, the gum will handle a bit of the plaque that is on the mouth, the overnight build up, and if you are lucky, when you get into office, you can rinse, you can control that kind of bad breath. But there's bad breath that really needs attention from your dentist. No matter what spray you use, it will show up at some point, because the spray has a duration for which it can cover you.
Then we have our other quick fixes, the herbals, where you hear people telling each other, if you use this and you place it maybe in the cavity, you're sorted. That even now, some of them have gone the extra mile to make them in oil formats and what. I'll not be specific and mention any, but I know there are lots of different interventions people are trying to use here and there to sort themselves out as far as the oral bit is concerned.
Yeah, they do, and fortunately or unfortunately, some work. Some fix them and they think they are the right solution. But the fixing can come in this way. Put that herb inside the tooth that is decayed, and you'll be sorted. They actually get sorted because these herbs just kill off the tooth. They just knock it off. It dies. They kill the life in the tooth, and the tooth is no longer sensitive, is no longer responsive to any pain or what, sensitivity goes, and they think they've sorted. But that tooth is still there. Scientifically, that tooth can be saved if you go to a dentist and they remove the debris that were caused by the herb, which killed the nerves and the vessels. We call it RCT. You remove all of that, and the dentist fills the canals which have been opened up and seals the top. Then you retain your tooth. But if you kill off the nerves, the blood vessels and everything, one time infection can gain entry through that hole, and it will seep right to the bottom. And then the morning you are like, then what do you see? That the herb sorted you? Oh, no. It sorted you into another problem, infection, because the sealing of the cavity is paramount, so that you don't have infection gaining access. A tooth is hollow. Once the opening is removed, anything can seep through up to up to the bottom, the roots, we call them the roots.
The roots, yes.
And the roots are in direct contact with the blood supply, and you can actually get very terrible infection if you are not attended to. But good enough, many conditions just show through a swelling, and then people react because of that swelling. So I'm not a herbalist, I've not studied herbs, I don't know the chemicals, but I know the sorting is temporary because, like I've told you, one time you'll get a flare-up.
So what's the best way for one to have or to keep oral hygiene?
Oral hygiene is very, very simple. Very simple. Make sure you don't have food debris in your mouth. Food debris, I'm talking about food which is still soft. Because it may be debris, but if you leave it there for years, it will harden, and then the brush will have no effect on it. The brush and toothpaste are the standard, if we can say, but if you make it a practice to rinse at lunchtime, because many of us come to work, we don't have the facilities where to brush from and all of that. But if you make it a habit just to rinse after lunch, take off the soft food, and by the time you go home, have your supper, we advise that you brush before going to bed. Why before going to bed? Because you don't want food staying on your tooth surfaces for a long time. That is the time maybe when they will even impact in that gum which is open, that you opened with a toothpick. So the key here is get rid of food at all times if you can. The brush is a carrier of the paste. We believe in the toothpaste. Once it's fluoridated, it helps you to carry, because you may not be able to lift the paste on your finger, and that moving mechanism of the brush is also another way to clean, to reduce the food off the tooth surface. So we really need to learn that having food sticking there is the cause of problem. Having food impacting in our gums, which we have enlarged either with a poor brushing habit, toothpick, whatever can make your gums expand, is trouble. So you have to get rid of it. Then, you know, if everything fails and you need to see a dentist, make it a habit to see your dentist at least twice a year. At least. That doesn't mean you must count only 2 times. The earlier you go, the better. People say dentists are expensive, but you come after staying away so long. The money is accumulating. Every time you don't go to visit, the bill piles. So if you go early, probably the bill the bill will be much, much smaller if you go early. Because if you don't have pain right now, chances are that you are okay. If you are not, the disease is still early and it can be fixed at a small cost. But if you wait for the pain to come, that duration you stayed at home is going to translate into money.
Now, my final question to you, Dr. Nabaja, is sort of I don't know how to best phrase it. We've had scenarios, or you've seen scenarios of people, especially in the villages, who don't use a toothbrush. They have their piece of stick. I think they have a specific branch they will use, and they'll go and use it to clean their teeth practically the whole day. And it's believed their teeth last longer and are stronger because of whatever herb or whatever they're using to brush up their teeth. What's your take on this? Is it true or false?
It's true, very true. Why true? Because I've given the explanation of the toothbrush. The effect it has, the cleaning, removal. The science is remove. And this brush, the muswachi, we call it muswachi, just does that very well. The other point that they don't use fluoride, they don't have it. But the point is, fluoride is a strengthener of teeth that are weakening. Those people are not eating anything to weaken their teeth. No sweets, no chocolate, no what. Cakes. So really their enamel, the enamel is the outer part, is not under threat to decalcify. Decalcify is lose minerals. That can happen when you have a lot of sugar around your tooth, so you kind of drain the enamel, it becomes weak. So those people are surviving because they are applying the principle of removal.
Okay.
Fluoridated toothpaste is an adjunct. Is that the right word? It supports the mechanism and it leaves you feeling fresh. It leaves you more protected. But the protection we are looking for is basically from the diet. That is why these people may not be at a greater threat than us who are highly exposed to sugars.
Okay.
They eat fine sugars, they eat sugar cane, they eat bananas, and these sugars are raw, not fine. They are raw, they don't stick. Unlike us who have access to all sticky sugars, the cakes, the chocolates, the sweets. So every time they sit there and we don't fight them off, they are now making the enamel weak. So we need to add a bit of fluoride. We are lucky in Uganda, we don't have a very big crisis of low fluoride levels like other countries where fluoridation is actually a strategy to prevent tooth decay. Us, we have normal levels of fluoride, so we can survive, but it's an adjunct to fight the bad diet, probably. So they survive on that muswachi because the mechanism they are using has a strategy of removing. Once you remove, you are good to go.
Wow, that is interesting. Thank you so much, Dr. Nabanja, for your time. And I believe we wish you the best in terms of the celebrations of World Oral Health Day that is going to take place on the 20th of March in Kabale District. That is all we had for you tonight. It's just about 5 minutes to the top of the hour. And Rhoda Ngonzi will be coming your way with the 10 o'clock news. It's good night from me and the crew, as well as Dr. Nabanja.
Thank you.
Fred!
Osmosis.
Freddy! Fred Dollar, my boss, CEO Inojo, the general of generals, the conqueror of conquerors, the first and the final, the sky above the skies, the promised land, the terms and the conditions, the international king crocodile, the source of the
Osmosis.
Nile.
I don't have money today.
Just take a polite loan of 200k to stock my shop. The signs and symptoms of success. The bank commander, not the bank teller.
Why hassle for a loan when you've got MTN Momo? We're sorting. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
One-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information, and sensitization of the public from the various sources such as inspirational profiles,
Having a disability is not inability.
professional guidance,
There is no special antiretroviral therapy that is given specifically for discordant couples.
and of course, politics.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
My role as the owner of the country is not to, be preoccupied by giving credit to my servant.
We have said that if we are to talk to General Museveni, there must be certain conditions in place.
Is it true that you paid 5 million shillings to MPs that voted for Anita Monga and Tayebo?
That is laughable. Why would we pay when we have nominated them as SEC?
Every party has been represented in Uganda's parliament for 10 years. We only
by one MP, you yourself.
And my daughter, Susan.
Every Friday 9 p.m. It's One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukomwa on UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
Program My School, a great students program and your answer to education perspective, giving you reason as to why you should pay school fees for a child's education with items like students' talents, thoughts, adventures, and skill showcased, leadership skills, and all other activities plus concerns in various schools in your locations. Remember that our children are our future generation. Don't miss Program My School.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Hello and welcome to News Tonight. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Museveni meets Italian Ambassador Stefano Gatti. Outbreak of red eyes worries experts, schools and prisons the most affected. While Public Accounts Committee sustains query of 47 billion shillings. And in sports, Uganda still enjoying itself at the 2023 African Games. Hello once again. President Yoweri Museveni has implored Italian investors to support Uganda through investing in the East African country. The president made the appeal while meeting a delegation from Italy led by the Ambassador Stefano Gatti, the Director General of the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation at State House Entebbe. President Museveni commended the Prime Minister of Italy, Her Excellency Giorgia Meloni, for her quick response to his idea of sending a delegation to Uganda to identify investment opportunities in the country. He told the delegation that Uganda has a lot of natural resources, adequate labor, and a lot of investment opportunities that need to be tapped into.
Over here, we had now to link the town with the village. Our villages with the town here. For the milk, we were able to make the villagers produce for the town. So our production jumped from 200 million liters a year to now 5.3 billion liters a year. And we are going to overtake that little Holland. Because I went to Holland, they said they were producing 10 billion. I said, how can you produce 10 billion when we are going to overtake you? So I'm targeting overtaking Holland to go to 20 billion liters. We are moving, but I think we can move much faster if our cultural relatives, the Europeans, join us.
The first thing that our Deputy Prime Minister said when he met your Prime Minister in Rome, where I had the honor to be present, is that from the start of this year, Uganda is a new priority country for the development cooperation of the government of Italy. And our mission is to, first of all, respond to the first priority that your Prime Minister, based on your indication, has given to us, that is the coffee sector. So how can we work coffee sector? Uganda is a key coffee country in the world, and we have already some important coffee private companies in Italy that buy and invest on Ugandan coffee. We agree together that coffee is one of those sectors that has these important challenges of remaining strong in the production, but facing climate change and the effect of climate change. So to do that, we need a lot of investment. Uganda needs a lot of investment. We need our companies to come here, but also to have the funds of the government in order to invest. In the next days, we will develop together a major project in the coffee sector. Uganda is also leading the effort in the African, with all the African partners, and we are proposing that Uganda works with us on a regional project.
After the summit, I held meetings with the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, His Excellency Antonio Tajani, and several potential Italian investors. Your Excellency, I also requested Tajani to send an Italian delegation of potential investors to Uganda to explore investment opportunities in our country.
And Prime Minister Robina Nabbanja has this morning held a follow-up meeting with Italian industrialists in the coffee subsector. Following the meeting the delegation had with the President on identifying investment opportunities in Uganda. According to Nabbanja, the Italian industrialists come with investors willing to contribute to the development of the country with a plan to implement through 5 key areas such as education, agriculture, health, water, and energy.
Projects, but then Prime Minister also consider that when we have a state visit, that I hope it will definitely be this year, we sign a new framework agreement for the next 3 years based on the area of cooperation. This is important for us because then it binds us legally to provide the funds not only now but also going forward. So that will be also an outcome on official visit. 3 years agreement. We have signed that in other countries with the different sectors already identified and the financial commitment on the side of the government of Italy.
So I'm happy that this delegation yesterday met the President, and today we are here to make sure that we deal